Central African time. This is indeed the upside on Channel Africa, the African perspective with Tebogo, Lekhuleni and Mmatsheko Mosito. We are your gateway to the good life. And you can catch us on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube, and at Channel Africa or at Channel Africa 1 on TikTok. It's a happy Thursday to you and yours. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon on the upside. Listen, we continue our theme of raising awareness as the month of September is World Suicide Prevention Month. And we continue that theme, having these important conversations that oftentimes we may run away from because of whether it's a taboo to talk about mental health and share some of our struggles. We need to bring them to the surface so that those who need help can be helped.
Right. So we've got a good 5 days until the end of September, but really important that we highlight these conversations, but that doesn't mean that beyond September we shouldn't have them. We're definitely going to have them. Yeah. So as we continue to observe World Suicide Prevention Month this September, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, or SADAG as it's known, has launched an annual campaign under the theme Hope Starts with Talking. This is an initiative that highlights the importance of open conversations as the first step towards seeking help, aiming to break the stigma that often prevents people from being able to talk and speak up and share how they feel. So with 1 in 4 calls to its 24-hour helpline being suicide related, SADAG reminds South Africans that suicide is not just a statistic. It represents real people that are in distress, and a simple conversation, you have no idea, it really can be life-saving. On the line with us as we have this conversation is Fatima Seedat, who is SADAG Development Manager, on the line with us. Good afternoon, Fatima. Thank you so much for the time this afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me on your show today.
Right. Let's talk about the work of SADAG overall. I think before we talk about the helpline and just and unpack the statistics, let's talk about the work of SADAG for those that perhaps are not familiar.
Yeah, so SADAG is the only suicide crisis helpline in South Africa. We also run 24-hour helplines for mental health, and we provide mental health support services and also advocacy. So we do often, when we see there is a lack of access to mental health care, or we see there's a bit of an issue with public health care systems, we do stand up and we do speak for the patient. So we are patients' voice as well.
Rather alarming statistics, Fatima, that 1 in 4 calls to this helpline is suicide related. What does this particular statistic reveal about the state of mental health, particularly in South Africa? Hi, Fatima, are you still with us on the line?
So yes, a lot of people are going through a lot of tough times. I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you back. Thank you. All right. I think there's a bit of just a slight delay, but yes, we've got Fatima on the line.
Okay, let's see if it works better this way. Sorry, I'm in the containers today, so I'm in the middle of a township.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We can hear you perfectly now.
Okay, so with the 1 in 4 people that call us that have suicide-related need for support, we notice that there's so much going on within South Africa. People are going through the most. So they are exposed to high levels of crime, trauma, traumatic events, difficulties at home and with their family members as well. So a lot of difficulties with relationship issues. And because of that, they sometimes go through a very difficult point in their lives where they don't see out. So what they do is they reach out to get the help that they need. And that is when SADAG then adds the support system for the person that is reaching out for help. So we see that there's a lot happening in South Africa, but at the same time, there is a lack of mental health care services within all the provinces in South Africa, which makes it more difficult to get support in health. Also, there's as much as we speak a lot about mental health, we sometimes see that people are not being, they're not as aware as they're supposed to be. So we need to get them, spread that awareness and education throughout all the different areas. Therefore, days like this and conversations like we're having now are so important because we need to help people understand mental health care better so that they take care of themselves.
That's right, Fatima. But also, I think for me, what's really challenging, and you sparked this thought now when you were mentioning that you are in the middle of a township, and I'm starting to think around, we all need to start thinking around access to mental health care for disadvantaged communities, because there could still be a stigma, because perhaps people are thinking that access to wellness programs or offerings of a helpline, as per what we're seeing at SADAG, is only for the privileged few. People that live in suburban areas, people that have access to this, water and electricity and all sorts of things. So for disadvantaged communities, how is SADAG sort of planning to tackle the stigma and give people access and take away the shame of asking for help, particularly in disadvantaged communities?
That's such an interesting question. And what I'm doing currently, and I think it's good to share why am I in a township today?
Right.
I do a weekly visit at some of my projects, and the projects, we call them the counseling container of hope, where people have access to free mental health, basic counseling, support, and referrals. And so we make that, that because we see there's a huge gap of mental health care in South Africa in public healthcare spaces. So we try and cover that gap. And the way we can do it is through our call center, where people call in, speak to a counselor, get the help they need so they can go, they can start taking care of themselves. But at the same time, we've seen that in communities so I work in Diepsloot and Ivory Park currently. And communities like that, there's no psychologist, there's no social worker that's able to assist with mental health issues. And that's why we came up with this concept of the counseling containers to see if we could bridge that gap. And I see it working so well, but I also feel like, SADAG tries their best to go into the communities outside these two only. And we've been starting the rural outreach campaign where we went to Zeerust, we went to Rustenburg, and we went to Louis Trichardt. And we spoke to the community members there, where we're trying to educate them about mental health, but at the same time encouraging them to open up support groups, so that at least there's some sort of support system in the township that we spoke in going forward after we've left, but also that increased awareness about our toll-free helplines.
We're currently in conversation with Fatima Seedat, Development Manager at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, who have just launched their annual campaign under the theme Hope Starts With Talking. We continue the conversation right after this.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mokoenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The Upside, 1 to 4 p.m. Central African Time. With Tebogo Lekhuleni and Mosito. Only on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Right, it's 7 minutes before 2 p.m. Central African time. We continue our conversation with Fatima Seedat, Development Manager at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, as they launch their annual campaign under the theme Hope Starts with Talking. Fatima, if you don't mind equipping our listeners, equipping us as well in the studio, on how we can conduct a conversation with a friend, a colleague, or someone very close to us who gives us a ring in the middle of the night, and their mind is going elsewhere. They are having perhaps suicidal thoughts. They're having challenges. How can we engage them to calm them down and assure them that things are going to be okay? Where can we start practically?
Love that question because it speaks right to our theme for this year, which is Hope Starts with Talking. And we chose that topic because we feel like, often people, when they do reach out for help, they're not being heard, or they're not, they feel like they being misunderstood or misjudged. So what we're trying to do, and I think it's so important that when a person does reach out for help, you should take that as a compliment, because this person trusts you, knows that you may be the right person to help guide them through whatever they're going through. Also realizing that, yes, they have reached out to you, but you don't need to have solutions for them. What they actually want is just for you to listen to them. And when I say listen to them, I mean, like, when they share their story, their feelings, it's actually just being there to listen out for them. Once you know that you've reached a stage where you've listened, you've showed your support and care. So, throughout the conversation, reassure them that, yes, it may be difficult, but yeah, there are ways that we can work together to get the actual help that you need. Also doing almost like not saying, nullifying their feelings is important. And when I say that, is like, if they share something and if they say, yes, I do feel like I want to end my life, or I'm going through such a difficult time, I just don't see myself through this. It's saying, yes, I can't fully understand what you're going through currently, but I can, support you, and I can maybe see how best we can work together to get yourself some more help. It's small tools like that will help, but the most important thing is listening. Listening. People often feel like they're not being listened to. And often when we do listen, we're always listening to respond. Sometimes we don't need to do that. We need to just listen, and that's it. And once you go through that process of just being there for that person, it's always good to encourage them for help-seeking behavior. So suggesting, why don't we together call SADAG, and they'll maybe assist you with the next steps to take after this. There's never quick fix to any situation, and that's something that you need to always reassure this person. But yes, there's never a quick fix, but yes, we can work through this together with a professional or with someone that will be able to assist you going forward. So yeah, I think the best advice I can give you is to be open, to be honest, to be willing to listen with no judgment, and also to lean onto other support systems so that you can help the person and not take it all on yourself.
Very critical. I think, just in the absence of SADAG in that moment, practicing the art of listening is so important, Fatima. And that leads me to me wanting to find out around how you measure the impact. I think before we take the numbers, that are very critical for those that are looking for the suicide crisis helpline, or substance abuse line, etc. You'll give us those numbers shortly. But how are you measuring the impact of the work at this time?
So we constantly monitor and evaluate how we reach people, how we've supported people. And we also take very seriously if there is someone that says they haven't been helped properly or anything of that sort.
Okay.
We do take that and we do then respond with helping them further, and making sure that the person does get the right help. Because often what happens is we refer them onto a hospital, a clinic, or we help streamline the process as well. Sometimes we even refer them to an NGO, but because of the huge numbers and the shortage of mental health care services out there, it does become very difficult to get the help. So we do go back and we do support people when they do need it and they haven't received the appropriate help when we do refer them on. So when we do monitoring and evaluation, we do check how the person's been helped, have they been treated, and we do follow-up calls to find that out. If you look at numbers at SADAG, we receive about 2,500 calls or more per day, which indicates how much people actually trust us and see us as a safe space for assistance. And I think it's important for us to just make sure that we are there, we are on the other side of the call when people do reach out, but also be mindful that we are an NGO and we highly rely on donations and funding so that we can keep our services ongoing. And currently we are seeing a bit of a decrease in the amount of support we're receiving.
Okay. Just in the interest of time, Fatima, I know that anyone can just go on sadag.org. There is a donate button there should you wish to donate. Otherwise, 0800 567 567. Very easy number if you need help. And there are other crisis helplines on the website should you wish to gain access and get help. It is a safe space. Thank you for mentioning that. Fatima, thank you so much for the time and for the work that you're doing. All the best with the campaign.
Thank you so much for having us. Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. That was Fatima joining us in her capacity as development manager at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. It is 1 minute after 2. Jolani Tulo Ngwepe standing by with the latest news.